Observer 6 stared at the blue planet through the viewing screen of his small scout ship. Earth looked peaceful from space, wrapped in swirling white clouds and vast blue oceans. But 6 had a job to do, and the collective did not send scouts to planets that weren't worth watching. "Begin final approach sequence," 6 said to the ship's computer. "Activate stealth shields." The scout ship shimmered and disappeared from any Earth detection systems as it entered the atmosphere. 6 checked his disguise one last time. The biomimicry tech of the collective was the best in the known galaxy. His natural four-armed, pale blue form was now hidden beneath the appearance of a human male of average height and build. The ship's computers had created this disguise after studying thousands of human broadcasts. 6 had spent the journey memorizing human behaviors, languages, and customs. The collective needed to know if humans were a threat, a potential ally, or simply another species to be managed when the time came for galactic expansion. "Landing zone identified," the computer announced. "Rural area outside settlement designated Lakeside. Low population density. Minimal surveillance." The ship touched down in a small clearing surrounded by trees. It was night, and the darkness would help hide any imperfections in 6's landing. Within minutes, the ship reconfigured itself into what looked like a simple human camping vehicle, what humans called an RV. 6 stepped outside and took his first breath of Earth air. It smelled different from the filtered atmosphere of his homeworld, wild, full of organic compounds, almost overwhelming to his sensitive senses. He would need to adjust quickly. He reached back into the ship and pulled out a small bag containing human currency, identification documents, and a device that resembled a human smartphone, but was connected to his ship's powerful computers. According to his cover story, he was Alex Miller, a remote worker who had recently moved to the area looking for a quieter life away from the big city. The collective's intelligence division had created a complete background for him: school records, tax history, even social media accounts with years of fabricated posts and connections. 6, now Alex, looked up at the night sky. Stars twinkled above, reminding him of how far he was from home. The collective had been watching Earth for decades, intercepting broadcasts, analyzing their internet, learning their languages. But this was the first time they had sent someone to live among the humans directly. The mission brief had been clear: observe, record, assess threat level, and report back. Humans were advancing quickly, moving from primitive flight to space exploration in less than a century. Such rapid technological development was rare and concerning. Alex started walking toward the lights of the town in the distance. His first task was to secure proper housing where he could set up his monitoring equipment. The RV was only temporary. As he walked along the dark road, a vehicle approached. Alex tensed, ready to defend himself if necessary. But the car simply passed by, the driver giving a casual wave which Alex returned after a moment's hesitation. That was his first direct contact with a human. It seemed simple enough. The town of Lakeside came into view as Alex crested a small hill. It was larger than he expected, a few thousand inhabitants at least. Streetlights illuminated the main roads, and despite the late hour, some businesses remained open. A perfect observation post. Phase 1 complete. Alex whispered to his communicator, beginning infiltration and observation. The device beeped softly in acknowledgement as Alex stepped onto the main street of Lakeside, ready to begin his mission. Little did he know that his understanding of what it meant to be a sentient species was about to be completely upended by the creatures that called this planet home. The collective had sent him to find the truth about humans. And the truth, Alex would soon discover, was far more chilling than anyone in the collective could have imagined. After 3 days in Lakeside, Alex had secured a small apartment above the town's bookstore. The elderly owner, Mr. Parker, seemed pleased to have a tenant and asked few questions. This suited Alex perfectly. Each morning, Alex would set up his observation equipment disguised as ordinary human objects. His coffee mug contained sensors that analyzed the chemical makeup of nearby humans. His laptop could intercept any electronic signals within a mile radius. Even his watch was constantly taking readings of the local environment. Day 4 of observation. Alex recorded into his hidden communicator. Human physical capabilities continue to register as suboptimal. Average strength is 1/5 of collective standard units. Endurance appears similarly limited. Most humans become fatigued after minimal physical exertion. Alex walked through the town park, watching children play on colorful equipment. He noted how small and fragile they looked. Adults sat nearby, talking and looking at their primitive communication devices. Humans appear to require frequent rest periods. He continued recording. They sleep approximately 1/3 of each daily cycle. They consume nutrition multiple times per day. Their bodies have minimal natural protection against environmental threats. A group of young humans kicked a ball back and forth on a grassy field. Alex stopped to watch, measuring their speed and agility. His readings confirmed his initial assessment. By collective standards, humans were slow, weak, and physically unremarkable. That evening, Alex visited the local eating establishment called Dave's Diner. His biomimicry tech allowed him to consume human food without issue, though he found the experience strange. Humans seemed to take great pleasure in eating, spending considerable time on this basic biological function. Their technology remains primitive. Alex noted later in his apartment. They still rely on fossil fuels. Their medical science is basic. They have only begun rudimentary space exploration. Assessment: minimal threat to collective interests at present. Alex spent the next day observing human social interactions. He watched people in the coffee shop, the grocery store, and the park. He saw them laugh, argue, and help each other with small tasks. Human social structures appear complex despite their biological limitations, he recorded. They form bonds with non-genetic relatives. They exchange resources without immediate benefit. Further study needed to understand these behaviors. On day 6, Alex decided to test human reactions. In the grocery store, he deliberately dropped a bag of food items. 3 different humans immediately stopped to help him collect his items. Interesting, he noted. Humans display cooperative behavior even with strangers. This could indicate herd mentality or primitive community defense mechanisms. By the end of his first week on Earth, Alex had compiled extensive data on human physical limitations. Their bodies were fragile. Their senses were dull compared to many collective species. Their technology was thousands of years behind the collective's achievements. That night, Alex prepared his first official report for transmission to the collective Central Command. Preliminary assessment of species designated human. Low threat level. Physical capabilities well below collective military standards. Technological development. Early stage. Recommendation: continue observation but designate as Category 3 species, not an immediate concern. Alex sent the transmission and looked out his window at the quiet town. Humans were going about their evening activities, walking, talking, living their simple lives. They seemed so unaware of the vastness of the galaxy and their own insignificance within it. The collective has nothing to fear from these creatures, Alex said to himself as he watched a group of humans laughing outside a restaurant. They are physically weak, technologically backward, and completely unprepared for what exists beyond their small world. Little did Alex know, his assessment was about to be challenged in ways he couldn't imagine. The true nature of humanity was still hidden from him, waiting to be revealed. 2 weeks into his mission, Alex had settled into a routine. Each morning, he walked through town, collecting data on human activity. In the afternoons, he analyzed his findings. His reports to the collective remained consistent. Humans posed no significant threat. On a warm Tuesday, Alex decided to observe a construction site at the edge of town. Humans were building a new shopping center, using large machines to move earth and materials. Alex found their reliance on machines interesting, further proof of their physical limitations. He stood across the street, pretending to drink coffee while his sensors recorded the workers' movements, heart rates, and energy output. Everything was proceeding normally until a loud crack echoed through the air. Part of the wooden structure had collapsed. Workers scattered, running in all directions, except for 3 men who ran toward the fallen beams. "Help! Tom's trapped under there," someone shouted. Alex watched with scientific curiosity. Based on his observations of human behavior, he expected them to call emergency services and wait. What happened next completely contradicted his understanding of human capabilities. 6 workers rushed to the pile of heavy wooden beams. A man was pinned beneath, blood visible on his hard hat. The beams were massive, each weighing at least 200 pounds according to Alex's quick calculations. "On 3, shouted a worker. 1, 2, 3. As one, the humans lifted. Alex's sensors went wild. The readings couldn't be right. These humans, these physically weak creatures, were exceeding their baseline strength measurements by over 200%. Alex moved closer, adjusting his sensors. The readings remained the same. The workers' muscles were straining, their faces red with effort, but they were lifting weight that should be impossible for their species. "Pull him out," someone yelled. A woman slid into the small space they had created and dragged the injured man free. The moment he was clear, the workers dropped the beams, collapsing to their knees in exhaustion. Alex's sensor readings showed massive chemical changes in the humans' bodies. Adrenaline levels were off the charts. Heart rates had doubled. Their bodies had somehow temporarily overridden their normal physical limitations. Even more surprising was what happened next. One worker, a man in his 50s, took off his shirt and pressed it against the injured man's bleeding head. Another was already calling for help on his communication device. A third was holding the injured man's hand, telling him everything would be okay. "Hang in there, Tom. Help is coming. Stay with us, buddy." The injured man had a serious head wound and a visibly broken leg. By Alex's estimation, he should be in shock, unable to function. Yet the human remained conscious, even attempting to smile at his coworkers. "Thanks, guys," he said weakly. "Saved my life." Within minutes, emergency vehicles arrived. Alex stepped back, processing what he had witnessed. His understanding of human capabilities had been fundamentally wrong. That night, Alex reviewed his sensor data again and again. The numbers didn't lie. In a crisis, humans could temporarily access physical strength far beyond their normal capabilities. Even more disturbing was their pain tolerance. The injured human had remained conscious and communicative with injuries that would incapacitate most species. Alex prepared a new report for the collective, his fingers hesitating over the keys. "Update to previous assessment," he began. "Humans display unusual physical capabilities in emergency situations. Their baseline readings may be misleading. Additionally, they show unexpected tolerance for pain and injury. Most concerning, they willingly risk personal safety for others, even non-genetic relations." He paused, considering the implications. "Recommend upgrading threat assessment to Category 2. Further investigation required into human stress responses and group behavior under threat." As he sent the report, Alex looked out his window at the seemingly peaceful town. For the first time since arriving, he felt a slight unease. There was more to these humans than met the eye. After witnessing the construction site incident, Alex couldn't sleep. His understanding of humans had been wrong. He needed more information. The next morning, Alex visited the local library. His cover as a remote researcher gave him the perfect excuse to spend hours reading. He started with human history books, moving from ancient civilizations to modern times. What he found disturbed him deeply. Day 18, Alex recorded in his private log. Human history contains patterns that contradict their apparent physical weakness. They have survived conditions that should have caused extinction. Alex read about the Ice Age, when humans with primitive tools and no natural fur had survived in freezing temperatures that would kill most collective species. He read about desert civilizations thriving in heat that would dehydrate his own kind in hours. But what truly unsettled him was human warfare. They have fought wars that lasted decades, he noted with disbelief. Soldiers endured conditions that defied biological limits. Freezing trenches, scorching deserts, starvation conditions, yet continued fighting. Alex switched to medical texts and found more disturbing information. Humans had survived injuries that should be fatal. There were accounts of people walking miles with broken bones, surviving massive blood loss, and continuing to function with injuries that would incapacitate any reasonable species. Most concerning discovery, Alex recorded, his voice now carrying a trace of worry. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They literally chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their ability to regulate body temperature through sweating allowed them to run for hours when other animals would overheat and die. That evening, Alex walked through town, seeing the humans in a new light. The elderly man sweeping his porch had likely survived diseases, injuries, and hardships that would have killed most collective citizens. The woman jogging past him was demonstrating the very persistence hunting tactics that made her ancestors apex predators. At the local diner, Alex overheard a group of men talking about a marathon race scheduled for the weekend. 26 miles, he whispered to himself. For sport. The concept was alien to him. Members of the collective exercise for health, but the idea of running until near collapse as entertainment was baffling. It suggested humans actually enjoyed pushing their limits to the breaking point. After dinner, Alex returned to his research. He discovered that humans didn't just survive adversity. They often emerged stronger from it. Their medical advances came from warfare, their greatest innovations from competition. Their strongest social bonds formed during shared hardship. Most species in the collective avoid pain and suffering, Alex recorded. Humans seem to weaponize it. That night, Alex prepared his third report to the collective with shaking hands. Urgent update to threat assessment. Human capability to endure extreme conditions exceeds all collective species. Evidence suggests standard conquest protocols would fail against the species. He attached historical data about human resistance movements, guerrilla warfare, and the psychological concept of revenge, all unknown in collective society. Humans possess a unique trait. When threatened, they become more dangerous, not less. They adapt to pressure instead of breaking under it. For example, during their World War II, bombing civilian populations intended to break morale instead strengthened resolve. Alex looked out his window at the peaceful town. The same humans who smiled and helped each other would, if threatened, transform into the persistence predators of their evolutionary past. Recommend immediate upgrade to Category 1 threat assessment. These creatures cannot be conquered by standard methods. Further observation required to determine if peaceful contact is advisable. As Alex sent the report, he realized something chilling. The collective had never encountered a species that became stronger when faced with adversity. Every galactic conquest had followed the same pattern: apply pressure until the target species submitted. But humans? Humans would just keep coming. Alex's research into human resilience had left him deeply unsettled. But reading about human endurance was one thing, witnessing it firsthand was another. That opportunity came 3 weeks into his mission when heavy rains hit Lakeside. The small river that gave the town its name rose rapidly, threatening homes near the water. Alex watched from his apartment window as emergency alerts sounded. The logical response, he thought, would be evacuation. Instead, he saw something remarkable. People poured out of their homes and businesses. They formed lines, passing sandbags from trucks to the riverbank. Old men worked alongside teenagers. Women in business clothes stood shoulder to shoulder with construction workers. They're trying to hold back a flood with bags of sand, Alex whispered in disbelief. For hours, Alex observed from a distance, his sensors recording everything. The humans worked nonstop. When someone tired, they simply stepped aside for a short rest, then rejoined the line. No one left. No one complained. As night fell, portable lights were set up. The work continued in the darkness. Rain poured down. Temperatures dropped. Still, the humans persisted. Alex's readings showed many of them had gone without food for 12 hours. Some had been awake for over 24 hours. Their bodies showed signs of extreme fatigue. Yet they continued working. This defies biological logic. Alex recorded in his log. They should be physically unable to continue. Near midnight, part of the sandbag wall collapsed. Water rushed into a street. Without hesitation, 3 humans plunged into the freezing water to begin repairs. Alex zoomed in with his enhanced vision. One man had a bleeding cut on his face. A woman's hands were raw and blistered. An elderly volunteer was visibly shaking from cold. Yet none stopped working. "They're killing themselves," Alex muttered. "Don't they understand their own limitations?" But by morning, the flood had crested. The sandbag walls had held. The town was saved. The humans, soaked and exhausted, finally allowed themselves to rest. They gathered in the town hall, where others brought food and dry clothes. They laughed together, patted each other's backs, and recounted the night's efforts. Alex slipped into the hall, pretending to be another tired volunteer. What he heard stunned him further. "We'll need to check on the Millers. Their basement always floods. The high school gym needs volunteers to help the evacuated families. Let's get some food and a quick nap, then head back out." They weren't stopping. After fighting nature itself for 24 hours straight, they were already planning to continue helping others. That afternoon, Alex walked along the riverbank, looking at the sandbag wall. It wasn't advanced technology. It wasn't even particularly clever. It was just thousands of bags filled with sand. But it represented something Alex was beginning to truly fear: human determination. Back in his apartment, Alex read historical accounts of human endurance that seemed impossible. Antarctic explorers surviving months in killing cold, prisoners of war enduring years of torture, disaster victims living days under collapsed buildings. His hands trembled as he prepared his next report. Urgent communication to collective command. Human resilience exceeds all known sentient species parameters. They routinely operate beyond biological breaking points. Most disturbing, they appear to form stronger group bonds during hardship. Alex added data from his flood observations, focusing on the implications. Recommend immediate classification as Danger Class X species. Standard collective subjugation would fail catastrophically against humans. They would not break under pressure. They would unite and resist indefinitely. As he sent the transmission, Alex felt something new. Fear, not just concern or scientific caution, but genuine fear. The collective had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never encountered anything like humans before. 1 month into his mission, Alex had gathered enough data to complete his final assessment of humanity. Each day brought new evidence that humans were unlike any species the collective had encountered before. After witnessing the flood response, Alex had started looking deeper into human psychology. What he found only increased his concern. In the town library, he discovered accounts of human behavior during wars and disasters that made no logical sense. Soldiers jumping on explosives to save comrades. People running into burning buildings to rescue strangers. Parents going without food so their children could eat. Their pair bonding and pack behavior extends beyond genetic relations, Alex noted in his log. They form family units with completely unrelated individuals. They die for abstract concepts like freedom and country. The collective species were practical. They valued survival above all. Alex could not imagine any of his kind sacrificing themselves for an abstract idea. He decided to compile a comprehensive final report. For 3 days, Alex worked nonstop, organizing all his observations and research. When finished, his report was the most detailed threat assessment ever sent by a collective scout. Final assessment. Species human, he began. I recommend immediate classification as a Class X restricted world, our highest danger designation. Contact or conquest attempts are strongly discouraged. Alex listed the key factors that made humans dangerous. First, their adaptability exceeds all known species. Humans have settled environments from Arctic to desert, high mountains to deep seas. They modify themselves and their surroundings to survive where they should not be able to survive. Second, they possess unprecedented psychological resilience. They endure conditions that would break most species mentally. They recover from trauma that would permanently damage collective citizens. Third, they exhibit what they call spite, the willingness to harm themselves if it allows them to harm an enemy. This behavior is unknown in rational species and makes them unpredictable. Fourth, humans become stronger, not weaker, when threatened. Their historical records show that external pressure causes them to accelerate technological development, form stronger social bonds, develop more effective weapons, set aside internal conflicts to face the external threat. Alex paused, considering how to explain the most disturbing aspect of humanity. Most concerning is their response to defeat. Unlike rational species who accept superiority when demonstrated, humans simply refuse to lose. Their historical records show countless examples of conquered populations continuing resistance for generations. They pass hatred of oppressors to their children. They wait decades or centuries for revenge. Alex included data from human wars, where outnumbered, outgunned forces continued fighting through horrific conditions. He added psychological studies showing humans would rather die fighting than live under control. The collective's standard approach, demonstrating overwhelming force to secure quick surrender, would fail catastrophically with humans. Their history suggests such an approach would unite their fractured global society and trigger a response of unprecedented violence and determination. His conclusion was stark. Any attempt to conquer Earth would result in unacceptable casualties for the collective. Even with our technological superiority, we would face a species that would never accept defeat. They would study our methods, adapt to our weapons, and continue resistance indefinitely. They would sacrifice billions of their own kind if necessary. Alex sent the report, knowing it would shock collective command. Never before had a scout recommended completely avoiding contact with a technologically inferior species. His final line was the most chilling. They call their fictional monsters inhuman, never realizing that they themselves are what other species fear most. The response from collective command came quickly. They had never received such an alarming report from a scout before. They ordered Alex to complete one final week of observation, then return home. Alex felt relief. Soon he would leave this strange planet and its even stranger inhabitants, but he still had work to do. He needed final evidence to support his assessment. On a quiet Sunday morning, Alex walked to a small park near the edge of town. He sat on a bench, watching humans enjoy their day off. Children played on swings. Parents talked and laughed. Elderly couples fed birds. They seemed so peaceful now. It was hard to believe these were the same creatures who had survived ice ages, world wars, and plagues. The same beings who could work through the night in freezing floodwaters or lift impossible weights to save a trapped friend. A small movement caught Alex's eye. A young human child, perhaps 6 years old, was kneeling near some bushes. Alex activated his enhanced vision to see what the child was doing. The little boy had found a young bird on the ground. It had fallen from its nest in the tree above. With gentle hands, the child picked up the bird. Instead of keeping it as Alex expected, the boy looked up at the tree. He's trying to find where it came from, Alex realized. The boy's father came over. Together, they located the nest. The father lifted his son onto his shoulders. The boy carefully placed the baby bird back in its nest. Alex watched, confused by the mix of emotions he felt. The humans had gone out of their way to help a completely different species. They gained nothing from this action, yet they did it anyway. This was the paradox of humans that had gradually dawned on Alex during his time on Earth. The same beings capable of terrible violence were also capable of extraordinary kindness. The same determination that made them fearsome enemies also made them protect the weak. As the sun began to set on his final day on Earth, Alex walked back to his hidden ship. It was time to leave. He had completed his mission. The collective would mark Earth as a restricted world based on his reports. Inside his ship, Alex prepared the final transmission. But this one wasn't for the official record. This was a direct message to the High Commander of the collective fleet. High Commander, my official reports contain all necessary data about human capabilities. But there is something more you must understand about these beings. Alex paused, trying to find the right words. Humans are paradoxes. They are individually weak but collectively strong. They are capable of both terrible cruelty and surprising kindness. They can hate with passion but love with even greater intensity. If the collective ever considers conquest of Earth, despite my warnings, remember this. Humans don't follow rules of rational behavior. They don't surrender when defeated. They don't submit when shown superior force. Alex looked one last time at the town of Lakeside through his viewing screen. They have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Humans have more fight in them than any species we have encountered. As his ship quietly lifted off, cloaked from human detection, Alex sent his final words to the collective. They are the thing that even predators fear, the prey that hunts back. Mark their world with our strongest warning. Approach at your own risk. They do not know how to give up. The small scout ship accelerated into the night sky, leaving Earth behind. Within days, the collective placed stealth beacons at the edge of the solar system. The beacons carried a simple message to any passing ships. Restricted zone. Class X Earth. Avoid at all costs. The humans of Lakeside continued their lives, never knowing how close they had come to being classified as a galactic threat, never realizing that somewhere among the stars, advanced civilizations had decided it was safer to leave them alone.